So, Gen Z, right? A term that I hope you have all heard before, but just in case you haven't, it's the second newest generation, because the newest generation is Generation Alpha. Stupid, I know. Gen Z is the generation that I believe I associate myself with, but I pretend I don't. I'd rather be a millennial than be part of Gen Z. Now, why is that? Why would I rather associate myself with a millennial than associate myself with the generation I'm supposed to be a part of? The main reason is that, for some reason, Gen Z is very disrespectful. And talk about how I don't understand why a generation could be born like a bunch of gremlins from Lord of the Rings. Or Game of Thrones. I don't know. I've never seen either. I made an alliteration to something I've never seen. Or an illusion? I forget. I'm not good at literary devices. Example number 1. If you have been on YouTube recently and you watch the type of videos that I watch, they will go and show these videos of 20-year-old to 25-year-old men being just a real pain, right? For no reason, by the way. Like, here's my thing. If you get tackled by not an officer. This kid's getting tackled by an officer. If you get tackled by a random person, feel free to fight back, right? This is a public service announcement. If you get tackled by a random person on the street, feel free to fight for your life. You know, these people, it's really hard to say. Technically, people like Jack Doherty and Johnny Somali and Wolfies, who actually just got into jail, so good job for him. They all technically, well, besides Wolfies, they all technically don't do anything illegal, but they do a lot of harassment to, like, warrant, anger issues. For example, we got Jack Doherty, right? He comes up to you, and he knocks into you. And he goes, "What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do about it, little boy? What you gonna do about it?" And then he's got his big bodyguard to stand out in front of him. Because he knows, with his scrawny little body, he couldn't beat anybody in a fight. Especially anybody he picks on in the streets, right? Or in a mall, or wherever, right? He knows that he could never beat them in a fight. So he has to get his big old bodyguard to, 1-2, if that happens. Now, I'll tell you. This bodyguard, pretty scary guy. You know what isn't scary? A gun! Well, that's not really true. A gun is scary, but what I'm saying is if a gun is there, Mr. Bodyguard ain't gonna have a body to guard with, right? You go up to a random guy in the mall, very simple. We live in America, they're illegal here. Second Amendment right, baby. He has the bodyguards just in case. Because a couple years ago, there was a guy that didn't have a bodyguard, and he got shebanged in the face, right? Because you don't, harassing is actually not good. Lesson of today is harassment is actually not cool beans. But because they're making so much money off of this, in Penguin Zero's video that he just posted, I think last night, Wolfies got arrested and was making $10,000 a month. That is more than the average salary of a working individual. That's $120,000 a year, I think. And that is pretty good. Especially if you're getting a salary. You get $120,000 at the end of the year. This guy's getting $10,000 for literally poisoning people. Well, Gen Z, they're like, well, golly gee, I can get $10,000 a month for being a bad person? Well, this seems horrific. I can see absolutely no repercussions that come from this in any way possible. We're gonna go for reason number 2 of why, Gen Z is so disrespectful, is I think that parents nowadays are a little more lenient with their children. Now, as somebody who, doesn't like punishment, I don't think many people do, but, a lot of kids probably don't like to be punished by their parents. But some things do warrant punishment. Now, couldn't you have guessed, go to school. And at school, I see a lot of kids that do a lot of bad things. Very similar to this kid right here. Now, but they're not getting any of that. Because they're not getting, treated, they're not getting punished. Let's say you go up to a kid in school, and you punch him in the face. And then you go home, and you tell your mom, hey, I punched a kid in the face. You should get the whooping of your lifetime. Punching a person in the face, unless in an act of self-defense, is never an act of violence that should be condoned. But, if, guy goes first, go ham. If the guy punched you first, I don't care. If the guy or the girl goes at you first, and you think you can take him on, then go for it. But if you know in your heart that you cannot beat this person in a fight, run. Run. And be a snitch. Moral of the story, be a snitch. You know, newsflash, it's actually not that bad to report people. Yeah, they're gonna go after you, but they also could get repercussions because their parents won't give them any, because all they want is attention. But because they're not getting in trouble, they're like, wow, I can do this, I can harass my friends and other random people and get no repercussions for it. Well, golly gee willikers, I see absolutely nothing wrong with this in any way possible. So, you know, lesson learned. Maybe don't harass random people that you see on the street. I actually don't find it to be that hard to not harass people. I find it quite easy to be kind to people. Before you go and make a YouTube channel, or a TikTok, or a Kick, or a Twitch, remember that they didn't do anything to you, and you can be nice to people. Why would you want to be a disrespectful, bad, objectively bad person? Well, as I said before, a lot of it is money-based. A lot of people think, you know, I'll harass this guy, I'll get views, I'll get engagement from comments of people being mad, and then, I get money, and money equals happiness. Money is good, right? Money is good. I like money. So, a lot of the times, they do it for money. But if money isn't involved in the conversation, they're not giving them enough discipline to stop what they're doing. And a lot of the times, it only takes a little bit. Wolfie's, like I just mentioned earlier, he went to trial. And he goes, sir, I promise you, they were all pranks. Who cares what you call them? Throwing a dead bird on somebody isn't a prank. Why would you throw a dead bird on somebody? Apparently it's for money. But now you're going to go into jail for it. How fun does that sound? Have fun in the slammer, buddy. Bye-bye. Have a good trip. 1 year isn't enough. He poisoned people in a Walmart. And that's something that angers me, right? Because I think that these people would do these bad things and get nothing for it. Jack Doherty should be in jail years to life, like 6 years to life now. And the second he steps foot in that little prison, he is getting the beating of a lifetime. I tell you, man. You get the guy from Green Mile, the big guy from Green Mile. He gets him next to Jack Doherty. Jack Doherty's split in half. Split in half. He's ending up like the Guardians of the Globe at the end of the first episode of Invincible. You're not going to get anywhere. But they are. So I can't even say that you're not going to get far, because you will most likely get far. But if you're not getting far, you're literally doing it for your own self-enjoyment. And if you actually enjoy harassing people, you have problems to deal with on your own. So, what did we learn from today's video? Gen Z sucks, are stupid, and harass people. Though, giving credit where credit is due, Gen Z is not, like, entirely bone dead. Like, bone dry dead, right? They're not the most, you know, they're not the brightest bulb in the box, but they're not the rustiest wrench in the toolbox either. You know, they are not, I mean, I'm saying they as in, me too, but there are people that can, you know, not be harassing, you know, delinquents and twinkle toes. But there are also people that are just that, and just objectively bad people. So, for today's lesson, what did we learn? We learned that Gen Z, objectively, is a bad generation. Hopefully Alpha's better. Newsflash, it's not. And let's try, today, I want everybody who watches this video to not harass somebody today. As best as you can. Let's not cheer for non-harassment. Let's go and not harass people. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you can like, subscribe, and maybe click on another video of mine. And yeah.